This problem is about computing the tangent line. Write the equation for the tangent line to the graph of f of x equals x to the fourth plus 1 over x at x equals -2. Express your answer in slope-intercept form. Let's go take another look at the problem and find the keywords that will tell us exactly what to do. The first thing your eyes should focus on is the phrase tangent line. The second thing that should draw your attention, other than the formula for f, is the point x equals -2. We need to be careful about our final answer. We have to recognize that we're looking for a slope-intercept form. That means our final answer should look like y equals mx plus b. Let's find out how our first two pieces of information will help us write down an equation to solve the problem. We are asked to find the tangent line. The tangent line is not just any line, it's a very particular line. For the tangent line L at x equals -2, you know two pieces of information. One, the slope of L must be equal to the derivative of f at x equals -2. And two, that the line L passes through the point -2, f of -2. This is a very important piece of information. This actually says that the tangent line and the graph will pass through the same point in the plane at -2, f of -2. Now we know what we need to write the equation for L. We need to know f prime of -2 to determine the slope, and we need to know f of -2 to determine the point through which the line L passes. Let's compute f of -2. That means we plug in -2 for x, which results in this expression. This simplifies to 16 minus 1/2, which reduces to 31 over 2. Remember this number, we will need it later to determine the point through which L passes. Now we need to compute f prime of -2. The function f of x is equal to x to the fourth plus 1 over x. Now, a trick to do whenever computing derivatives, it's usually easier to rewrite this as x to a power. So we rewrite that as x to the fourth plus x to the -1. Now we can use the power rule to differentiate this expression. And that gives us 4x cubed plus -1 times x to the -2, which simplifies to 4x cubed minus x to the -2. We're not done with f prime just yet. We still have to plug in -2 for x. F prime of -2 is 4 times -2 cubed minus -2 to the -2 power. That simplifies to -32 minus 1/4, which simplifies to -129 over 4. We need to remember this value so that we can use it for the slope of the tangent line. All that's left to do is to put together our two pieces of information and write down the equation for the tangent line. We need the slope and a point. We obtain the slope by computing f prime of -2, which is -129 over 4, and we obtain the point by evaluating f of -2, which is -2, 31 over 2. Whenever you need to write down the equation for a line, you have two choices. You can either start with 2 points, or you can start with a slope and a point. If you start with a slope and a point, my favorite way to go is to use point-slope form. That's the beginning, and then at the end we can rearrange to use slope-intercept form. This is the point-slope form of a line. x1, y1 is the point, and m is the slope. We plug in the slope for m, we plug in the x-coordinate to x1, and we plug in the y-coordinate to y1. That gives, this is the equation that describes the line, but it's written in point-slope form. This expression is not our answer to the problem. We were asked to give our answer in slope-intercept form, but this is point-slope form. However, It's very close to the final answer. All you need to do is use algebra to rearrange the expression to get it in slope-intercept form. This is our final answer. Let's do a quick recap. Our first task was to sort out the information given to us by the phrase tangent line at x equals -2. The tangent line is the line whose slope is f prime of -2 and passes through the point -2, f of -2. The next step was to compute f of -2. That turned out to be 31/2. Then we computed f prime of x using the power rule twice, which gave us 4x cubed minus x to the -2. We had to evaluate f prime at x equals -2, which gave us -129/4. To conclude the problem, we needed to write down the equation of a line that had the slope of -129/4 and passed through the point -2, 31/2. The easiest way to do that was to use point-slope form, which gave us this expression for the line. However, this was not the final answer because it is not in slope-intercept form. We need our line to look like y equals mx plus b. Rearranging gives our final answer of y equals -129/4 times x minus 49.